Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about the term Deva and what that means. In many texts we find the term Deva, and what does that mean? So Deva, if you look at the term Deva, and perhaps you listened to some of my previous videos and how I explain how creation is a computer, right? So it's a system with fundamental operating principles. So what does Deva mean? And this is an interesting one, and I'll get a little bit more into context about this. So when you look at the etymology of the word Deva, it means shining, right? And it's often used to describe deities, right? So you also have the term in Hinduism called Mahadev or Mahadeva, right? And what does that mean? So understanding how creation works, what you have is you have beings, if you will, that are empowered to develop, from the word deva, develop the operating, basically the system in which we exist. So these are beings that have been empowered, right? Who are granted light or energy, if you will, to develop at different levels of existence. So that's what Deva means. It's actually compared to the word developer. So, as we have, for example, on our computers through a series of downward programming, we now create computers, right, in our physical world. And we have people who operate a code within that computer, if you will, who develop code, and we call them developers. Right? So, as you can see, that same concept applies. They are, in a sense, devas, right? Within the level at which they operate. So that's what Deva means. And then you have the term Mahadeva, which means great developer. So great developer. So what you can ascribe that to, in a sense, is also the being, if you will, the individual that grants permissions to other devas or oversees the work in a sense, or also distributes the light or the energy or grants the permissions at which level devas can develop, right? So in that sense, almost like a project manager, if you will, because we're all developing in our lives, right? As we develop, for example, developers develop code within their computers. Within this level of creation, physical existence in which we exist, we also develop the world in which we exist. So, in a sense, we are all devas, right? Operating at different levels, right? So, in a sense, everyone is a deva, right? You also have the word asura, and maybe I'll get more into detail on that in a later video one day. But I just wanted to basically make the comparison between developer and deva. And once again, bringing a word that you can be found in another language, just for example, as in languages such as the Hindi language, or other language such as that, which we might use the word deva, and then comparing it to the English word, since English is, as we know, English is one of the most commonly used languages on earth. And there's a reason for that. So there's a reason why we can find the meaning of these words within English and within French as well. So in French, for example, développeur, right? You find that term again, deva, dev. Dev means a developer. So that's why we have the term deva, and that's why, in a sense, everyone is a deva, right? Operating at different levels, a developer. And some people develop at different levels. Some people develop more. Some people develop less. Some people are granted specific permissions to develop at certain levels. And you have, for example, deities who might operate at the higher levels, for example, developing at the level of the code of the whole system in which we exist, or even some specific levels that are assigned to them. So that once again, Deva, developer, that's the connection at that level, and that's what the developer Deva really means. So why is it assigned the term shining? Because the when a deity, if you will, operates at the level of creation, they have different levels or permissions that they're granted rights to develop at, right? And that manifests through basically shining or a light, if you will, and you visualize this through enlightenment, during enlightenment, at the Windows level of creation, how different developers are granted more or less light, right, from what you could refer to as the one who distributes those permissions, right, for development. So, for example, at the Windows realm that I've detailed in a couple of my previous videos, everybody exists within Windows, right? So it's basically your character within the story, if you will. And it's at that level that all our smiles were developed, basically what we'll look like and all that, right? And at that level, I've described how there's a communication through an email system, if you will, that connects to the Windows, right? A communication system between the Windows. And how part of the story is that a program, if you will, created by a developer, right, was distributed, and then through that video, it's that sorry that that program, which is basically advertised as a game and all that, where you can become enlightened and achieve these things. Basically, you get pulled into creation, into the physical. So it's very interesting, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about that, explaining that Deva means developer, and in a sense, everyone is a Deva, right? We can see all of creation as Devas, right? Everybody's a Deva, since we're all developing at different levels of creation. Thanks so much for listening.